Well, Father Daniel, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And thank you for letting us film in your church, All Saints, and in your other church of St. Clement's at Hood Cove.
Well, you're welcome. And it's a poignant moment for me because this is my last weekend here. So it's lovely to be able to do this behind this amazing medieval backdrop.
Yeah, we did a service here actually last Sunday, and that was lovely as well. All the hymns were to an accordion.
That's right, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going out to an accordion to God be the glory, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
That'd be nice. So I just wanted to ask a few questions before we did the passages. The first one is I very recently been confirmed, because last year I think it was, and I've struggled with doubt with my faith for a long time, and I still do. And a question I like to ask people, for my own sake really, is how did you come to your faith? Was it a long process? Did you always have it? Where was the journey that made you go, I believe in God?
In stages, actually. I think I was brought up by my paternal grandparents in Devon, who were religious, but until I was a mid-teenager, didn't go to church at all, though it was very, very definitely there. And, we watched Robert Powell's Jesus of Nazareth. I got Bibles at Christmas, children's Bibles that were very endearing and engaging. We talked about prayer and God, but I think they'd fallen out with a vicar or something sometime before I was born. And anyway, they started going to church when I was about 14, and I was really curious to the whole thing as to what this was about. And they went first of all for a month on their own and left me behind. And that actually got me quite itching about what are they seeing that I'm not seeing. So eventually I went, but Granny had this thing about Sunday best, which is a tradition that's almost been lost now. And rather painfully, she made me wear my school uniform, which I already hated. So this didn't endear me to going to Sunday. Now, the parish priest was canny enough to see, or to somehow read my discomfort, and essentially said, look, if you go on a confirmation course and become an altar server, you won't have to wear your school uniform. You wear whatever you like. So I came to Jesus because I liked the clothes, or didn't like the school uniform. Anyway, and I went for. I participated fully in the life of the church and the youth club about 15 miles from here. It was great. I had some of my chums were also altar servers or in the choir. Nevertheless, I think my faith was very cerebral. I believed in God as God was a sort of a supercomputer somewhere outside the universe that the TARDIS hadn't yet discovered. That was kind of like where I sort of saw it. An important thing to believe in, but it hadn't intersected really my heart. And then sort of tragically, my grandfather died very suddenly of a major heart attack when I was at sixth form. And I think the weeks that followed, yes, they were turbulent in terms of grief, but I felt very carried through that, and it became a sort of personal Pentecost is the way I can describe it. That I felt that I'd lost my adopted grandfather, my adopted father and grandfather, but somehow my heavenly Father was carrying me through this, and that I wasn't falling off a precipice, but that there was this sense that I was being held. And then I'd say a couple months after that, having had quite an interest in Greeks and Romans, and I'd watched the TV series of Robert Graves' I, Claudius with Derek Jacobi.
I remember that.
I watched the whole thing and thought, I'm really interested in this period of time. And why the heck didn't I do A-level history? Anyway, family bookshelf was a copy of St. Luke's Gospel, one of these little sort of good news editions that you could put in your pocket. Looking there, I've still got it actually, looking very sort of unloved, and I thought, do you know what, I'll pick this up. And then I did one of these things which I wouldn't recommend to anyone, is I sort of randomly opened the page, closed my eyes and said, you know, come on God, speak to me.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Have you done that? I don't think it's we've all probably done it, but anyway, I did it with a view to prizing from God some idea of what is, you know, who should I vote for? What's good politics? You know, at 17, you tend to kind of consolidate your worldview. And I had all sorts of conflicting ideas about this. You know, because when you're that age, you want to change the world. You know, you want to be at the spearhead of things. And I didn't know where to go with any of it, really. And I did this, come on, show me your politics. And I opened up to Luke chapter 6. That was the golden rule, do unto others as you would have. I mean, I'm not making this up. I love your enemies. Do good to those.
We've just done that, actually.
And it blew my mind away.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, okay, this is the highest standard. I'm being called not to be just nice to my chums. I'm not being called to... well, you know, there's a kind of activist type who cancels everybody who doesn't agree with them. I'm called to something incredibly demanding. I don't know if I can do this, but I know it's worth giving it a go, and there's no higher standard. And this is what I'm going to be at the pearly gates judged at, is not how much did you love your family, your chums, your friends, and those who agreed with you, but how did you treat those who you actually found most difficult, your adversaries, your enemies, those who wound you up, those who had completely inverse opinions to them. Did you try to destroy them, cancel them? Or, you know, did you divide the world and in the end your heart into them and us? And I thought, this is calling for a life beyond the great human schism. And I just remember sat there being blown away by this. And I don't know if you remember, but it was round about, in fact, that year later on, I had another sort of moment coming back from church, switching on the telly. It was Remembrance Sunday, and the IRA released a bomb at Enniskillen at the War Memorial.
You're not going to talk about forgiveness now, are you?
Well, I was...
Go on, I bring this up every time we talk about forgiveness. I remember the Enniskillen bombing very clearly,
And, you know, there was, his name's just escaped me, holding his daughter, Marie, wasn't it, the nurse, who died. And she spoke a few last words, you know, Daddy, I love you. And he went to the camera and talked about loving enemies and peace.
Yes.
And the IRA is only going to be defeated through love.
Do you know, there must be so many of us that remember that so clearly.
And I just remember that, watching that, coming back, you know, having my tea and donut after church, watching this, crying and thinking, that is extraordinary.
This has come up in our videos, doesn't it, in forgiveness.
You mentioned that before.
Which is, how can you forgive people that have done that? But that's what God asks you to do.
And I thought, he's defeating evil.
Yes.
You know, they cannot escape this tidal wave of that he has just produced. Anyway, as it was, after I was ordained, and my first Good Friday as a deacon, I was in a church in South London near Croydon, and you know, long day doing all this head spinning stuff. Crashed out in my little bedroom, put the telly on, and it was Ben-Hur.
Oh yeah.
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur. I love it. I reckon gorge on the whole 5 hours of it, with all the great and good, with the Cecil B. DeMille, Technicolor,
The widescreen.
Massive production.
Absolutely brilliant. And sat there on my little colour telly watching this. And I'd come in very late, and it's been her realising that the man who saved him many years back, who gave him water, is now being crucified. And so he's looking at the cross, Charlton Heston, with his big jaw, sort of completely despairing at this. And the BBC interrupted the programme with a news flash to say that the peace talks, the Good Friday Agreement, and this would be 1998, had concluded positively.
Yeah.
And then we then go back to the programme.
Wow.
And Charlton Heston says, I think if I got this right, he says, by his wounds we have been healed.
Wow.
And I remember I just went to my knees and thought of that Enniskillen Bombing and thought, you were right. And I think that's been my sort of heart to heart, sort of encounter with God has been through these sort of moments, these little sort of personal Pentecosts that have kind of contained me over those years. So it began as a heady belief, and then in teens, on the back of grief, became a heart-to-heart experience. Yeah. At times, I think we underestimate actually how I use the word scary in the positive sense. How scary, how awesomely fearful God is. That his presence and his demands on us to love others actually is a flipping nuisance at times.
It's very difficult, isn't
because
it?
99% of the time, I think I'd rather just have you and all that you're trying to push on me in a little shoebox that I put in an attic and I forget about.
You can't get
and
away
I bring
from it.
back, and I bring it down when I'm feeling nice, woolly feelings. And more as time's gone on, I've felt that the nagging presence of God, and often I've to say, no, I don't think, I don't think I want this now. And,
No.
But he keeps knocking. Is that poem, isn't it? The Hound of Heaven, who chased, I wish I could quote poetry, but, that the Hound of Heaven is this poem about, it's a bit like the Song of Songs, of being chased by God as if God is a hound. Wanting to... He's not going to let go of us.
No. I remember there's a very sort of common meme that I've seen quite a few times around the place, and it's if you want to feel good, buy a bottle of port. That'll make you feel good. Don't buy religion. That won't make you feel that good, because it's such a challenge. It's a continuous challenge, and like you say, the golden rule: do unto others as they do to you. Simple, straightforward, but almost impossible for a human being to do. You're trying to get to you're trying to get to God's kingdom on earth by following that rule. You might get close-ish, but to do that continually for a human being is a very difficult, big ask, isn't it? But it's such a simple, small rule. And and if I'm a big believer in taking my Christianity into my work, so it's with me all the time. So even though you're in a commercial environment, you're in a capitalist society, and you've got to bring God's love into that all the time, and the comfort that it brings all the way through your work in life. It's quite a lot of conflict, but it works. It actually does work, I find. It builds relationships, it builds confidence, it builds trust, and it helps me in my work. But it is a big ask.
Many a time I thought, God, give me a break.
Yeah.
Have a rest now.
Well, you must do in your profession, very definitely.
Priest Father Robert used to have a saying. He quote, I can't remember who he was quoting, but he would say, Lord, make me chaste, but not yet.
It's Augustine.
So
It's almost. It's almost.
it's like a joke or a meme.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's almost an Oscar Wilde type of quote, isn't it? It's got that kind of humour and self-perception that's so rich.
So did you, when you had that revelation with the Gospel of Luke, did you immediately know, I got to be a priest? Or was that
It came a few weeks later. A friend of mine knocked on the door. One of a few chums at sixth form, and Andy said, "Oh, I'm going to be a priest, Daniel." And I just said, "So am I. Come in, let's have a cup of tea." And he said, "Oh, I didn't know that." I said, "I didn't know that. So I've just said it to you either."
Really?
I said, "I think I do need to sit down." And it just happened like that, and I just, I knew. Something had obviously bubbled through and prompted me to that sudden decision. And I went off to University of Kent, which is now going to merge with the University of Greenwich, I now see in the news. I went to the University of Kent and did computer science, which is, again, me trying, I think, to escape God's clutches. But also, I did think it would be good to bring to the table a craft, a talent, rather than just be, a jobbing priest who's no good for anything else. I've tended to be Mr. IT Fix-It ever since, which is a blessing, but often with Microsoft products, a curse.
And so, at the service, they mentioned you've been here 17 years.
17 years, yeah.
Wow.
That's a good run.
It is, yeah. They can't.
How does it feel looking back on that now that you're on your way?
It's been a wonderful place to be at. Devon's a funny county, in that a lot of people try to escape it in their teens and 20s and then come back in their 40s.
Yeah, Cornwall's like that, apparently. Yeah.
I mean, I never thought I'd come back to Devon. And we'd been everywhere. And it was a chance advert in the Church Times and a combination of funding in our last parish, which was an inner city church up in Scotland, where my wife's family are from. And funding had run out, so we were on the move. We'd been there for 8 years. My elderly grandmother lived nearby here and was struggling. She had no other relatives. There was the advert in the Church Times for Salcombe, Marlborough, Gampton, Hope Cove. And I thought, well, I'll give this a go. I don't think I'll get it. And we had 2 babies at the time and came down here. What's lovely about this area is it's not only just rural. I don't consider myself a particularly rural person. I'm not very wellies and green jackets, and I'm not really. I'm a bit dyspraxic, so the whole sailing maritime thing I find really difficult. That's why I'm a bit Mr. Bean on the bodyboards and all that.
Oh, right, yeah.
But
sure.
I did think that Salcombe and Marlborough have this amazing life in the summer, where half of London, it feels like, comes down to here. And actually this would be quite a fun, very different kind of place to come to than say the middle of Dartmoor or at Newton Abbot or somewhere. I mean, as great as those places are, I just thought, this has a bit of a
felt right.
This feels right, and it's zoomed by actually. Today I've just said goodbye to my 2 teenagers starting university as they go off to city adventures, and the time from arriving here to leaving has just zoomed by. It's a place of incredible seasons, close-knit communities, incredible fun. We've had, you get all the kind of glitzy stuff as well of the celebrities and the films and that filmed here. The latest film, The Roses, was filmed around the corner here.
That's not the Cumberbatch.
Yes,
one.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was filmed. If you go down to the Winking Prawn, you'll see they've recreated it into the film set. We've got crabs.
Brilliant.
I mean, my kids worked there for 4 years.
No, okay.
So they're not actually in the film. They were too young at the time. Right. But we get so there's this lovely kind of glamour about the place,
yes.
as well as this very practical community that is warm and engaging.
Yeah.
You felt that during the lockdowns, actually. That though personally I was very against what the governments did. I think what we had down here was a very mild version of what Friends had in cities. I mean, there really wasn't any great policing of anything.
Okay.
And that, in fact, the community came together quite practically to, get food boxes and things to the isolated quite quickly.
Yeah, I found that very difficult, COVID. I was managing a company, an aviation company, with about sort of 10, 15 people in it, and we were really, really restricted. We had our hands tied by governmental policy. We couldn't make our own decisions. We couldn't say, oh, that doesn't sound reasonable, let's do this, let's do that, because if we didn't, our liabilities would be so great. So we were sort of tied by and it was changing every day, and it was very oppressive, very oppressive. So I appreciate that.
No.
You might have had a little bit of an easier time.
Yeah, we had a lot more slack in that. And it was, I don't know if you remember, but it was a glorious spring. So, the woods and the beaches and that were incredible to just go for very long walks. Though I think I found the national culture of safetyism quite disturbing. That subsequently, since then, we've fallen into this trap, I think, of being overly careful about everything that we're doing.
Everything, absolutely everything.
Wasn't it interesting that just before that, the big thing that was being put around, the big meme, was keep calm and carry on, which I think is in many ways a meme about faith and taking risks. And you'll find institutions now will say, well, how are you going to keep X, Y, and Z safe? When really I think what the generations coming up want to know is how are you going to challenge the next generation? Yes, obviously, safely, but not to the extent of which people don't feel they can risk anything, let alone an opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that sort of mollycoddling, I think, is creating something that's metastasizing within culture, and it's also pushing a lot of people. I mean, I gather this is pretty typical in sort of student university life, actually, that students are not going to lectures, they're watching them online. They're sort of retreating into their bedrooms, into themselves, into social media. And so that kind of connectivity with a lot of the real world and the sort of bumps and bruises I think that you need to mature are actually being denied them. And so
I felt that.
You felt that?
I know exactly what you mean. You spend your days in your bedroom on your computer or your TV. You go to work in a car, so you're also cut off there, and you sit in a cubicle. And then you go back and you watch some sitcom of friends on a TV interact with each other while you're sat on your own, watching an imitation of being sociable. I know what you mean about these communities. We're in Whittam, which is kind of a semi-rural place, and we've got a lovely community at church. We go to the pub afterwards, and that's really helped me. Also because I met younger people at this church, which is nice for me. So it's nice to hear that that's taking place here as well. The interesting thing now is you're off to a new community.
I know,
You're off to the big city.
I know.
Greenwich University.
Greenwich University, yeah.
Chaplain.
Yes, chaplain. Yeah.
It's a new position, isn't it?
It is. It's a completely new position. So we're starting almost from zero in terms of it's a blank sheet. There has been some wonderful volunteering work by a couple of volunteers, but on the whole, it's pretty much starting it from nothing. And I think it's a really interesting time for university chaplaincy, because in the old days, say, let's say up to about the 1960s, university chaplaincy generated the majority of Christian leadership.
Oh, really?
You know, that this is where
Yes.
men and women were forged.
Yes, we came from. Yes, to lead
to
the church.
To lead the church, or to lead in the world the Christian message.
Yes.
And I think that has clearly been lost. And I think you'll probably find that 2/3 of university chaplaincies don't engage with that problem. You know, that they're essentially welfare institutions who are dealing with sort of whack-a-mole crises.
Interesting.
Whereas
Interesting. Yeah.
I think there's a new model that could come out where a university chaplaincy could propose a healthy, deep, let's say, let's put it out there, a healthy, deep Anglican Orthodox Christian vision, which didn't need to be threatening to any other faith system, but could engage with them where necessary in ways that were creative. But actually, on the whole, you know, sort of talked into the depth and the wisdom of the Anglican tradition, and gave confidence to young men and women to be able to take that mantle, to take that mantle up, and to be intellectually and spiritually stretched. I had a little bit of a mixed experience of university chaplaincy at Kent, but I'd say that the friends that I made formed me. So the chaplaincy community got me to where I needed to be, that I could enter a seminary system and be in the right kind of place and have a certain confidence to be able to not only my spiritual life, but to be able to captain things. You know, that I learned, I did 3 years and I learned coding, but I think what I learned, which is more valuable, was how to put on events.
That's so important.
Do you know? And to do it with a confidence. And
manage people's expectations and
that's right. And I'd love to be able to take a number of people and together kind of relearn those skills and be able to hone down on that. Stretch ourselves intellectually, spiritually, and not so much to be thinking, oh, this is a safe space where no one's going to challenge me.
No.
This is a deep place where I'm going to be stretched. Actually, and I think actually in that stretching, what you find is that the sort of red meat Christianity, the deepest Christianity. I think what C.S. Lewis called the sort of deep church Christianity actually comes forward as a winner.
Definitely.
And the more sort of wishy-washy versions don't really hold tight.
I see. Yes.
And so I think we should actually offer a kind of robust chaplaincy. I don't mean sort of going out proselytizing everybody, but actually creates communities that are confident in who they are, and particularly I think confident in our nation's inherent faith, which is held by the Church of England and the mainstream denominations. I think it's all to play for.
You're right. I mean, the world has become lost, I think. It wasn't when I was a young man. It was quite guided and you felt safe and secure. You might not have practiced your Christianity regularly because of when I went through my teens, I lost it. But you knew it was always there and you knew it was always safe to go back to. There was always a parachute. Do you know what I mean? And I think nowadays there isn't that parachute.
No, exactly. I mean,
You know,
I think, I know that there's a lot of talk in the Quiet Revival about young men coming to faith, and the same not happening to women. Gen Z women are essentially becoming more progressivist, more liberal in that. But you can hear some interesting dissenting voices on this, because in the end, if life is just simply boundaryless, if there are no guardrails, if imposing rules is somehow oppressive, then you end up with a kind of tyranny where a girl dates a boy.
There's no structural direction.
No.
I learned this as a screenwriter, that limitations actually breed creativity. And so if you have boundaries of any kind, it could be Anglican boundaries, it allows for more creative and deeper, as you said, thought. It's a bit like chess. It's only 8 squares by 8 squares.
Exactly.
But the options within that allow you to
Exactly.
go.
Are almost limitless.
Yes.
But without those,
So have a point to it.
if you had no rules for chess, the game lasts 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's whoever can arrange pieces in the nicest way or not. As a kind of meaningless, it's absolutely meaningless sport.
Yes.
The same as with language, isn't it? Language holds to a grammar. I thought it was very sort of pertinent to my generation who grew up in the 70s, who went to primary schools where everything was thrown up in the air. And there was no need for grammar. Was sort of, that's all sort of old-fashioned and old school. You don't need to learn the structures of how language works. The problem is that we all came out writing crap, illegible, and struggling to learn languages. So that when I went to seminary and we had to do Greek, and the tutor begins going through the structures of, a little bit more than nouns and verbs, definitive articles. I didn't know what any of this was. I didn't know what a nominative was or a genitive. Luckily, he stopped and said, I can see, look at the blank faces, that a lot of you here are not really grasping the basics. So for a couple sessions, we just looked at what grammar was. And I thought, I feel like someone's given me the keys to
I know,
the kingdom.
yes.
That's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this show, was I've not read through the Bible properly. So how on earth can I expect to have a rock-solid faith if, like you said, I haven't done the basic grammar? Forget about even the theology of the early fathers. I've not even started with the Bible yet.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you look at the Bible with its 66 books, we're in a culture where we're told that reading is rapidly in decline, that more and more people are reading less and less, that our screen time and our doom scrolling is affecting the way that even our eye muscles operate. So the idea of reading an extremely dense book, I mean, what's fascinating about Scripture, as I think Jordan Peterson has said, it's the most hypertext document that any civilization has produced. Every sentence is laden with huge amounts of meaning. Well, if paper is scarce and ink is rare, you're going to make sure that every word has the gravity of a black hole. You know what I mean? And
that's a good way of thinking about it.
And so you've got this mountain that is presented, and I can see a lot of people could look at this and think, this is like being given Mount Everest and told, go away and explore it. After a few minutes, you think, well, I've just read the first few lines, and none of it means sense, or it's actually tiring. And I think it requires a sort of different catechesis. Really, it requires a lot of accompaniment that we've not given in the past. And whereas I think generations back, you could just hand a Bible to someone and they'd be used to, maybe at school they've read Shakespeare, they've read the great texts, they've written essays by hand. To be able to sort of cope with this, I think we need a lot of guidance and hand holding, but it is possible.
Well, it's one of the reasons we asked you here.
It's a wonderful thing, I think, to be able to start climbing the most extraordinary book.
Well, on that, let's get our mountain gear together and dive right in.
Yeah.